page 523. When approaching the whole creation, uprightness and modesty are asked for, not, however, doggish submissiveness, because to show this to the truth and the creation is a boundless overbearingness and an abasement beyond compare against them, because the truth and the creation do not require your humble worship and submissiveness, slavish mentality, crawling servility, and serving the will of others, but rather esteem and dignity, both for them and for yourselves. Your esteem and dignity concerning the truth and the whole creation as well as yourselves is not laid out so that truth and creation must approach you, because it is you yourselves who, through your intellect and your rationality in recognition of the reality, must approach them, recognize them, and follow their laws and recommendations. But truly, amongst the majority of you human beings of Earth, there is only convenience and hypocritical religious, ideological, and philosophical belief, wrapped in the villainous cloak of the submissiveness and dignitylessness towards yourselves and with regard to the truth, the laws and recommendations of the creation, the entire creation all around, and especially the creation as universal consciousness. But you amongst you who no longer want to sleep in truth unknowledgeness and in non-following of the creational laws and recommendations, you who search in honesty, esteem, and dignity for the truth of all truth, and strive for fulfillment of the creational laws and recommendations, take in the tidings of the teaching of the prophets, the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, as it is given to you in the quote, Goblet of the Truth, so that you comprehend the right thing. Be certain, there is only one creation as all-embracing energy and power, which gives life to everything in existence and to all created creations, namely, the universal consciousness, which as the whole creation also includes itself and everything created through it. And there is no God, no tin god, and no idolized human being who would, even in a speck of dust of a weight, be equal to the creation, because all godheads and tin gods are only insubstantialities, fabulated by you human beings, and are without any energy and power, just like the human beings who you raise to idols of godly equivalence. Through your wrongdoing in your belief in godheads, tin gods, and idolized human beings, you close off the heaven and the paradise which strive in you, in form of your psyche and your consciousness state, for revelation, which you, however, maliciously suppress in yourselves, through your consciousness-based and psychical state of hell. You no longer let yourselves be guided through the effective truth of all truth, and hence not through the creational laws and recommendations, and therefore not through the reality. You have, in a self-chosen wise, raised your earthly intellect and your rationality to the unlogic, and have submitted yourselves to it, and to the truth unknowledgeness, and thus you have become the tool of your own inadequacy, irrationality, and your unintellect, and have moved further and further away from the truth and from the laws and recommendations of the creation. In doing so, you have, as individuals and as whole humankind, carried out a separation between the truth, the creational, and the material, through which you are mainly connected only to the earthly, which is absolutely bound only to the material and its space and time. But that is something that the creational laws and recommendations do not include as such, but rather it is your own, purely human work, and this is why you are unable to understand the truth and the laws and recommendations of the creation. The longer you wait to find and follow the effective truth of all truth, the greater the cleft will be between the reality and unreality, as well as between the truth about the knowledge and the untruth about the knowledge, as a result of which you increasingly chain yourselves to the material. You are nothing more than earth-bound, intellectual and rational human beings who call yourselves materialists with pride, because you do not see the chains with which you have shackled yourselves to the purely earthly and its space and time, through which you have narrowed the horizon of your own intellect and rationality to such an extent that you no longer recognize the logic and truth of the reality, and also cannot understand them. And if you ask how you can find the truth and reality out of this, then the answer is that this is impossible for you, if you do not bestir yourselves, and if the help does not come from yourselves, because it is you yourselves who must take pity on you, and enable you to reveal the truth of all truth and the reality to your low intellect and your equally low rationality, so that you can also comprehend and follow the creation and its laws and recommendations. And you shall not ridicule those amongst you who strive for the truth and reality, because you yourselves are narrow in your intellect and in your rationality, and are unable to extend your materialistic horizon through healthy and valueful thoughts and feelings to an extent that you can find the truth and reality in yourselves and proclaim and comprehend them. All the efforts of the true prophets and their teaching of the truth, teaching of the Spirit, teaching of the life, are of no benefit if you do not let their knowledge and wisdom get through to you, because even the basic thoughts of all truth strivings have become purely materialistic in you. And if the true prophets come with the Goblet of the Truth as intermediaries between you truth-straying human beings and the truth of the creational laws and recommendations, then you shall think about the teaching of the prophets and build up energy and power in you, so that the truth of the teaching gets into you and you comprehend and follow it. You are still only a few amongst you, you who, as ones stricken by the materialism, demand for the effective truth of all truth, and search for it, and you who are overbearingly insulted as opponents of the God belief by the believers of the religions, sects, ideologies, and philosophies, instead of them recognizing the righteousness, strength of character, and the fairness, as well as the responsibility and the conscientiousness in your efforts. But do not let yourselves be made uncertain in your search for the truth, which you find only in yourselves and in the creational laws and recommendations, which act through all things and everything existent on the whole creation, with which you too are closely connected with everything through the creational love. The brazen laws and recommendations of the creation in all its creations, i.e., in all its manifestations, in all created creations, and indeed in everything existent, run through, as all-embracing, swinging waves, the whole universe, and everything that exists therein. And resulting out of these laws and recommendation-based swinging waves are also the interactions through which you yourselves form and determine your destiny. It follows from this that you cannot set yourselves against the creational laws and recommendations without having to bear the consequences in accordance with cause and effect, which you determine yourselves through your acting, even if you do not know or refuse to understand this. The interaction out of your thoughts and feelings, as well as out of your activity and deeds, is inexorable and unmovable. So, therefore, always, everything always comes back to you, be it good or evil. And just as the interaction that strikes you is created by and starts from yourselves, so the truth and its effect starts from the creation, namely through its laws and recommendations, in which everything existent of each kind is integrated. Consider that cause and effect always belong together. They are one in themselves alone, and one in connectedness, Therefore, each part can carry out autonomous deeds, but in cooperation as connection in the whole, they result in a oneness. In front of the creation all is one, a oneness, woven through with its spiritual energy and power. However, comprehensive in the wise that everything is autonomous and also creates its own energy and power in itself. Just as each thing in this wise also determines and forms everything itself, but nonetheless is connected with the creation itself, with its energy and power, and with the whole universe and everything that exists therein. So, regardless of what it is always an autonomous oneness, just as the negative and positive are in themselves each an autonomous oneness. But in union, they again form a oneness, i.e. a whole, like, for example, the electricity with plus and minus, i.e. positive and negative, each of which in itself is an autonomous energy and power and a oneness. In union, however, again form a whole, a oneness. So, for example, through the combination light is generated, or motors are driven, etc. This, however, means that there is no twofoldness, i.e. no duality, and no threefoldness, i.e. trinity, but in each case always only a oneness, a whole. And because you humankind who have gone astray do not understand these things with regard to the creational laws and recommendations, which act in all and each thing in the same wise, true intermediaries are given to you, true proclaimers of the truth, so that you may learn and free yourselves from the chains of the truth unknowledgeness, in order to follow the truth of all truth, and the reality of all reality. The true prophets come in order to make the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, comprehensible to you, so that you learn thereout, and lead a life in accordance with the laws and recommendations of the creation, and fulfill the consciousness evolution as life sense. But it is not clear to many amongst you human beings of earth what the truth of all truth is, nor is it clear to you what the creation and the reality are. For the majority amongst you, truth, creation, and reality are confusing terms which you equate with your belief in a god, tin god, or a human being raised to a godly idol. But no, truth, creation, and reality are themselves practicing love, fairness, harmony, peace, and freedom, because these values are based in and carried in the unmovable and unbribable laws and recommendations of the creation itself, and pulse through the entire universe. The love in particular is the fundamental factor of all being of the whole creation, as everything is created out of the creation itself, out of the universal consciousness. And so, just as through the creation everything is bound in love, so should it also be amongst you human beings of earth, namely that you embrace everything in love, your next ones, all your fellow human beings, and the whole humankind, the nature and its plant world, the planet, the animals, all creatures and everything that crawls and flies. But you only embrace yourselves in your ausgeartet, selfish self-love, whereas you bring only apparent love to your next ones, your fellow human beings, as well as your humankind. You band together in apparent love for the friendship, do not even know the true parent and sibling love anymore, nor the love for the next ones, but only the doubtful imperiousness love, immodesty love, the stinginess love, and pathological egoism love, as well as the obsession love for riches, for money, for self-benefit, and worldly pleasures.